Good evening, bonus era. It is 8:07 p.m. here on the east coast of the United States. I am going to be doing some programming tonight, but it's going to be a little bit different than what I typically do, which is work on like a standalone application. Today I'm going to be, let me get to my capture groups here. Not quite what I wanted to show. That'll do. I have to update my plugin library, the thing that lets people actually make plugins, to have some of the new features that VTube Studio has added to their API. Let's see if I can find a good example of that. You may have seen these on Twitter. Let's see. Oh, and of course, hello Fuba. If it's rejected, then I know I can't draw whatever they didn't like. I'm assuming it's because their super powerful machine learning has detected that the emote in question has text in it, but maybe can't determine what the text says or something, and so they need to have like manual revision to make sure it's not like hate speech or something ridiculous. Because that's the only thing that differentiates that emote from all the other ones I've ever used, is that there's text in this one. I have no idea. So we'll see. Anyway, my goal tonight is to update my library, which you can get at the Unity Asset Store, so that it includes a bunch of the new features that Denshi is rolling out as part of the beta for VTube Studio. These, oh, you could hear that. Awesome. This is Mountain Dew Baja Blast, a delicacy of the region. It is very, very artificially lime flavored. Very bad for me, high in sugar. Very bad for me. I wouldn't recommend it. Hellua, hellua. Last seen engaging in art like a fucking reprobate. Awful, awful stuff. Yeah, I'd say definitely have it once. I just have a lot of this because Bon adores this stuff, so we have a lot of it in the house. I'm not a big soda drinker. I'm far from a soda drinker pro, if I'm being honest. But I'm going to be burning the midnight oil today. So, yeah. I wish there was like a nice, concise list of all the new things that got added to the API that I could like demonstrate on stream. I should have prepared like videos or whatever from Twitter. Actually, maybe I can, hold on, give me a second. Maybe I can find something to explain kind of what I'm trying to add here. VTube Studio. You get to watch me operating a different web browser. Where is a good example? VTube Studio retweets a lot of other people's stuff. Okay, so like here's a decent example. This video right here. The purple hole thing, I'll get to that in a second too. So, for example, you can spawn items now programmatically in VTube Studio with the new functions that Denshi has added. Very, very exciting, adds a lot of possibilities. You can do stuff like the throwing redeem, for example, entirely within VTube Studio now, because you can have the item be loaded within VTube Studio and do all of the tracking within VTube Studio. You don't need to like synchronize or line it up, which is a kind of a big pain point for that plugin. You can change the color of items, you can pin them selectively, etc., etc. So that's one of the many things you can do now. And so this got rolled out, I think, started, yeah, looks like July 6th. And I have been sitting on my hands, not updating my library to have all of its functions because I am lazy or have other stuff to do. Yeah, it opens a lot of possibilities. For sure, for sure, for sure. I've already seen some people make some cool stuff with it. There's another techie type out there who made a like Pong type thing where she bounces a star on her head. And before that, she had a tic-tac-toe board that you could play on her forehead, which was before the item API. So she had to like preset every possible cross and circle in each of the 9 squares and then selectively enable or disable them. But now with the Edit API, you can just do that programmatically. You can have automation handle that for you. It is nice. It is nice. So Denshi, the guy who makes VTube Studio, kindly provided a list in the VTube Studio Discord of all of the new functions that I need to worry about adding. But I was hoping I could show that off here somehow on the actual documentation on VTube Studio's official docs. The only way I could think of doing that would be looking at, like, commit history, which sounds like a bad idea. And then comparing... Oh, he's made a lot of changes recently. Never mind. I was going to say, like, we could compare every commit since he started making changes again, but he's been very busy. Okay. In that case, I will have to refer to the official stuff he put in the Discord. So, first order of business. We have added functionality to request a list of hotkeys in a live 2D item using the new field live 2D item file name in the hotkey and current model request. Very exciting. So, Fuba was asking me about... I've got a hollow thing on my shoulder. This is an example of an item that is a live 2D rig in and of itself. This little weirdly drawn spider is called a bucko. They're the fan mascot of Tsundere streamer Amiya Aranha. And this one was made by Bon. It is a live 2D rig. It's got eye tracking. You can see it follows my eyes and it will blink, even though I don't, which is pretty cool. I can actually make this bigger if that's more apparent. Let me do that. Oops, I made myself smaller, not what I wanted to do. Unlocked all items, yes. You there. Become large. There we go. Like a thorny crown. But you can see, it can blink. And there's also the ability for it to, if I remember how to do this, add a hotkey. Really peeling back the curtain here. So my hotkey action would be I think it's specified as a live 2D item action. And the item action is a hotkey from this, I think. And then I can do left mouse button. Is that? Yeah, there we go. So it has a single hotkey that you can trigger, which makes it spin, which I've currently bound to my left mouse button. And so, like, for example, that's a new thing you can just execute programmatically with the new API. You could create an item like this, you can move it to a position, and you can execute hotkeys against it, all with the new item API. So I'm going to disable this hotkey because I no longer want it to actually be doing that. I'm also going to... Oh, nope, not me. I'm gonna put that little guy back where he belongs. On my shoulder. There we go. I keep doing that. I keep making myself smaller. There we go. This is what I get for, like, not being accustomed to a scroll wheel, because I don't use one most of the time. Okay. So, fortunately, Denshi has provided, if I go back to my browser, links to all of the updated or new functions. Before I even get to that, though, before I get to do any work at all, I feel that I should explain how my library works, because I didn't invent the API. I can't take credit for allowing people to do these things. I'm basically writing middleware, which is, in my opinion, useful, and people have told me it's useful. But it's really just the glue that binds stuff together. So, how does this work? There's a plugin. Actually, maybe I should actually make the font smaller here for once. Let's go back to the normal 14. I don't know if this is going to be readable or not. I hope it is. But there's, like, long lines. 14's maybe too small. Is 20 acceptable? 20 might be acceptable. I'm going to assume that this is acceptable. I usually do 22. You might be able to see on the right side here, there's a ton in this class. The VTube Studio plugin class is 578 lines long. It contains every method in the entire API, and for people who want to make a plugin, all they need to do is extend, using object-oriented inheritance, the VTS plugin class, and they gain access to all of these functions out of the box. They don't have to worry about setting up a web connection. They don't have to worry about converting their request into text or JSON format or anything like that. This is all just handled. You simply have to call this initialize function and then tell it, if you want to, the WebSocket implementation, so which is to say the networking level or layer, how you want to convert things to JSON, and how you want to save your authentication token. If you don't want to provide your own implementations of any of these, you can just use the out-of-the-box ones like I've done here. But if you have a really specific use case where you need to use your WebSocket using a specific library, you can write your own wrapper class that implements the interface like so. Like this one, for example, implements iWebSocket, the interface, and specifies how it actually works under the hood. But if you didn't want to do any of that because you trust the library that I provided or don't know how to do that, you can simply call initialize out of the box, use these lines as provided, and your plugin will connect to VTube Studio, and you'll be all set. Very, very, very straightforward. To that end, whenever I have to update the API or the library, there's a couple of things that I need to do. Authentication, port discovery, I can close all that, and then we finally have the API wrapper. I have to make a data structure class that represents the information that's in the new type of request. I need to then make a method that allows you to create one of those things and send it to VTube Studio. And then in the receiving WebSocket class here, there is a gigantic switch statement right here. A switch statement being a statement that is a long if-else, etc. logic tree, where I am comparing the response message to a bunch of known values, and that allows us to figure out how we're supposed to interpret the incoming data. What's happening? Oh no? Is it? Am I being attacked? Oh no. That's a lot of people. Hello. Hold on, I need to pull up my dashboard to actually see who that was. Oh no, I'm in trouble now. Who gave me the raid? Who did this? Who did this? Oh! Akai, thank you. I'm hold on. Mr. Bones, I want off this ride. 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 Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Skeletom. I am doing some programming right now because that's all I know how to do. I am only good for one thing. I am trapped in the world of the living with the unfinished business of needing to squash a bunch of GitHub bug tickets. I cannot rest. My wandering soul cannot move on to the afterlife until my unfinished business on this plane is done. It's a good one thing to know how to do. I am inclined to agree. I appreciate the raid. Thank you one and all for becoming voluntary members of the Skeleton Army. That looks like it is, I've got quite a few of you. Miho Kado, Kaseki Kusaku, Zuch de Pooch, and Akai. Thank you once again for joining the Skeleton crew. Boned up on your coding skills, always have. Do you happen to have spare calcium? Kind Skeleman? No, I cannot spare any. So yes, all three of you, Adios Skies. Thank you. There's a saying here in the underworld, which is if it doesn't read rest in peace on your tombstone, you get drafted into the skeleton war when you die. So I have to thank all of y'all for voluntarily enlisting in the Skeleton Army, because you're saving me from having to go out and get some poor drafty to fight the good fight with me. Your voluntary conscription is very much appreciated. Thank you. So what I'm doing, I guess I'll give a quick recap since I'm always ready to do a skeleton of work. Yeah. So let me go back into my browser here and show what I'm doing. So I am currently updating a library that I maintain on behalf of VTube Studio. The library is called VTS-Sharp. It is a C# language wrapper that allows you to relatively easily make plugins for VTube Studio. VTube Studio being the premier app that VTubers use for motion tracking and puppet animation and stuff like that. But you can also make plugins for it, which means you can pipe data in as alternative tracking parameters. You can change the color of your model, move it around and stuff programmatically. And the new API that Denshi has added, Denshi, the maintainer of VTube Studio, is one that allows you to programmatically create and manipulate items like the one that's on my shoulder right now. So I have to go ahead and update my library so that it contains all of these new functions so that people will stop bothering me about it and will be able to make cool new things without any friction whatsoever. Yeah, this plugin, or rather this library, was originally conceived as a Unity asset, hence why I'm on the asset store here. However, I am very, very displeased with Unity as of the past, I guess, couple months, especially this week. So something I want to do, if I can help it in the future, is decouple my library from the Unity lifecycle ecosystem, which is to say, remove the parts of it that are Unity specific and try and make it really generalized into C# so you can take it into like a monogame or whatever other C# compiler executable that you have, because I think Unity is trying very hard to stop people from using it. It is no longer the champion of indies. It's taking a very, very strange corporate turn. Every update is more and more half-baked features, and they just spend all of their money on acquiring random other businesses, and they just laid off the entire team in their internal division that actually makes a game in order to test if their engine's usable by, you know, their users, because they deemed it was a poor allocation of resources. Future Skeleton Club, hello. You should take a look at Lux. Uses Ren, but I think you'd like the community. I don't know what Ren is. Lux, I think I remember you talking about that Future Skeleton Club. There was like a game jam going on when Lux was new. I think it just came out recently, right? So I know nothing about Lux. I don't know what Ren is. I don't know what type of language that is. If it's a scripting language, if it's a strongly typed language. Yeah, we're talking about Unity. Yes, I'm souring on this game engine that I've spent so long championing. I think if I were to jump ship, I'd probably move to Godot or Godot or however you pronounce it, because that also has a C# assembly compiler in it, and it seems like the most direct transferable set of skills. It's a typed language on top of C++, sort of like C#. I know, Lua, I know you don't like Godot, but I poked around in it the other day, and it seemed to me like the most direct one-to-one. It doesn't support C#. Now, what do you mean by that? How can you not fully support how can you not fully support C#? I'm very interested. Like, either it compiles or it doesn't. Do you mean they're on an old version of .NET, or like what? I don't know how you can not fully support a language. It'll do the job. I have not dove deeply in either, though. Like, I am still begrudgingly using Unity, as you'll see here. I think my concern here, so the specific drama, I'm not going to beat around the bush, the specific drama that I'm talking about here is this week, Unity, in its infinite wisdom, acquired ironSource, which you've probably never heard of because they're not like a consumer tech company. They're an ad tech company, and their name, for many who are in the know, is synonymous with malware distribution, because way back in the day, when they started, ironSource was responsible for making those installers that you'd find when you Google search install Adobe Flash, or whatever, or Macromedia Flash, sorry. And you get this weird installer that's like, do you want to install these toolbars? And here are some ads in the installer. And you probably thought, huh, that's weird that this installer from Macromedia wants to install the Yahoo toolbar and BonziBuddy, and also has all these ads for, like, I don't know, Burger King in the installer. And you're right, that is weird, because that's not the official installer at all. What you downloaded was an installer made by ironSource that is trying to inject adware into your platform by tricking you into thinking you're getting the original, authentic program. Allegedly, they no longer do that anymore, and they sold off that arm of the company when they became publicly traded a couple of years back, but their name sure is synonymous with being an Israeli malware distributor, and they've got a long history of doing exactly that. And now Unity owns them. So my fear is that going forward, app stores like Apple and Google Play and Steam and itch.io will stop trusting Unity executables because they'll know it's made with an engine that now potentially has proprietary tech from a malware company in it. And I think that's very worrying. Like, I'm using Unity 2019 LFS. My version of the engine has not been touched by anybody since 2019. It's as good as it needs to be for everything that I've ever wanted to do in terms of making an executable that runs with a front end that renders. I've never needed anything that's super high fidelity or does anything amazing. I don't need to build for PS5 or, next-gen consoles, so I don't worry about that. But from a consumer standpoint, if you have a Unity EXE, you have no way of knowing if this was made in Unity 2025, brought to you by IronSource, or Unity 2019, brought to you by the good old days. And so it becomes difficult to trust these things. I'm sorry, I have to catch up on chat. I've been staring directly into my webcam and just going off. Let me catch up on everything. But yeah, my concern is that with the way they're going to destroy a lot of consumer trust, and it will make it very difficult, even if you use a totally non-tainted version of Unity to make your thing, to get trusted and to get traction anywhere. Okay, hold on. Okay. GDScript supports the features of the engine 100% while C# doesn't. Okay. I'll have to look more into that, I don't know. Hydrosafi, welcome. Didn't IronSource distribute virus? Yes. Good old IronSource. They stopped in 2020 before their IPO, as I was saying. Yep. Unity bought them because they want a big player in the ad network for mobile games. Unity making a lot of horrible choices, both related and not related to Unity. Catching up immensely, yeah. They were on the path of good, but then they became a big corp and threw all their goodwill away. Yeah, when you don't need console support, you're good to go. Considering Unity's biggest user base is mobile games, I think this buys meant to support App Store releases. Derogatory. Yeah, okay, yes. I think I pretty much covered all of those topics. Yeah. The reason Unity is kind of just throwing money at whatever they can grab is because they went public a couple of years back, I think in 2017, and they've not been profitable because you have parasitic leeches like me who just make dumb little baubles and don't monetize it at all, and don't pay for a Unity Pro license because I don't need to monetize my app in any way. Translators note, this makes me a, quote, fucking idiot, according to the Unity CEO. But they haven't been profitable, but because they're publicly traded, their shareholders can leverage and in fact sue them for monetary damages if they believe that they are not attempting to make money, which is why they're just buying anything they think will give them any kind of potential revenue stream, because it sure isn't the engine, unfortunately. And I mean, like, Unreal I think would be the same way. Unreal is fortunately made by Epic in the case of Unreal, and Epic has Fortnite money, because Epic makes games using their engine, and those games are very, very popular. But if Unreal was just made by Epic and that was their only product, I think you'd see it in a similar boat, where the engine itself is not a profitable product, because in order to get people to use it, it has to be either cheap or free, and a lot of people, like me, like Lua, like a lot of other folks, don't want to charge people for the things that we make with these engines, so you're not going to get a revenue stream that way. But Unreal is powered by Epic, and Epic has quite a lot of money from other revenue streams. Unity does not have that, so they're trying to gobble up any other kind of revenue stream they can get. Golly, my throat is hoarse. Tomorrow is going to be very difficult. For folks who are just stopping by now, by the way, tomorrow, at 2.5 hours before right now, 6 o'clock Eastern, I'm doing one of my world-famous Pizzatudon streams, which is a combination pizza baking and Zatudon, i.e. just chatting stream. I'm going to be making pizza bauzi, which are little steamed buns, full of like pepperoni and cheese. It should be a pretty good time. If you've ever wanted to learn how to make dough from scratch or how to make a pizza from scratch, I implore you to tune in. That'll be tomorrow. I'll be talking for 3 hours straight. I'm already dreading it, but it should be fun. Let's go. What else have I missed on? Problem is, with Unity is more that they're not prior to making an engine that makes it easy to finish games. Firing the team that was dogfooding was really the last straw. Yes, I mentioned this earlier. Don't forget Watermark, The horrible Unity games made by kids have watermark, while AAA games don't. In gamers' eyes, they don't realize Unity's potential. Yeah. So I think the Unity splash screen is going to become even more stigmatized than it already is. Because right now it's associated with, like, low-effort asset flips because there's the watermark if you're not paying for the engine. But soon I'm worried that it will be associated with maybe malware. I wish I knew C#. Me dumb, me just mess with Python. They are suing them, yes. When I said can, I meant that is what they are doing. They have the ability to do it, and they are doing it. Unreal is also huge with AAA games, and they have a royalty model for these companies, which is a lot of money. That's true. Pizza class, I'm in. In any pizza. I forgot. I think you asked for caramel, didn't you, Fuba? Or was it bacon next time? I haven't used them yet. I've not done a pizza stream since I think May, because it's very, very exhausting to run a cooking show from your house. I have to use every piece of technology in my entire house. I have a 65-foot HDMI cable to get the camera from the kitchen to my streaming PC. I use an iPad for face tracking. I have a boom microphone that I need to set up and a whole audio interface. Bacon, caramel, and something else. I will use bacon. I can do bacon for you tomorrow. I will absolutely do bacon for you tomorrow. But yeah, my Pizzatudon. They are cooking streams. You get to see my grubby little skeleton hands, bone and all. It's quite the wombo combo. Yeah, but tomorrow I'm making steamed bones, like Chinese baozi. So I definitely pronounced that wrong. But you know what I mean, bao. So steamed buns, they're gonna have pizza ingredients inside. Should be a lot of fun. Kind of unorthodox, but I want to spice it up a little bit. Last one was a breakfast pizza, if memory serves. I did sausage, egg, and cheddar cheese with like a white sauce and a hint of tomato. And that was the last time I've done a Pizzatudon because it's very, very exhausting. 3 hours of me talking, pretty much non-stop, and also having to be in a kitchen over a like 550-degree brick oven. So I should probably get to work doing the thing that I said I was going to do. We're 35 minutes into today's stream, and I have not touched hide nor hair of my code. Okay, so back on the... you have your own brick oven? No, but I have a stone that gets equivalently hot. So I have the ceramic aspect of a brick oven, and my convection oven gets extremely hot. I do not personally own a brick oven, though. I would have to do quite a bit of renovation in my house to accommodate a brick oven. I gotta start writing these down. I'm sorry, Fuba. I gotta either refund you like 3,000 channel points or actually write these down. I remember the bacon and I remember the caramel. I don't remember pickle. I have bacon, though. I can definitely give you bacon tomorrow for the... Fuba was talking about the... I have a redeem for my chat points here. For 1,000, you can say... bugs. You can redeem a Pizzatudon topping for 1,500 points, and I will consider it or refund your request. This is how you can get me to eat weird shit on stream. It's worked once before. I had people coordinate sausage and egg, and I had to make a breakfast sandwich pizza for them. That was pretty edible. I actually would recommend that. Anyway. So, all of this was a long tangent about how I want to decouple my plugin here, or my library, from being super dependent on Unity, because I would like this to be more generally C# applicable, because I am very soured with Unity's current tact. Bugs is a good one, yeah. Hachama. Anyway, so the way that this works basically is there's a plugin class where I specify the methods that are wrappers for assembling JSON data and sending it to the VTube Studio API server, giving you a strongly typed and kind of synchronous, actually, I shouldn't say kind of synchronous, inherently asynchronous call that you can just fire and forget. You don't have to worry about promises or any kind of weird nitty-gritty. You give it some data, you specify what happens if it's successful, you specify what happens if it's a failure, and you just call the method, and then it will do these callbacks automatically when this request is processed. And then on the processor end, we have a gigantic switch statement, which is going to get even larger today, where we check the incoming response type. First, we deserialize the message into a generic type, which has a field for its request ID, so we know what callback to execute. and the message type, which specifies how we are supposed to further deserialize it. So once we know the message type, we can turn it into the strongly typed version of the payload, and we execute the callback based on the request ID. Like a tokenizer, I think so? Yeah. And so this loop is just constantly executing in the update function in Unity, but this would be in whatever frame function you have in whatever C# engine. You first turn it into the most basic thing, process some data out of that, because every response from the VTube Studio API has at least a request ID and a message type. That's how you're expected to do this. We match it against what kind of response it is, and then there's this map here you see callbacks. When we call one of these functions like this, when we send, what this is actually doing under the hood is we have our request, we get the where is it? Oh yeah, right here. I'm like literally looking at the line. We have our big list of callbacks. We add a new callback pointer for that request ID, and this basically has the on success and on error callbacks stored. So we have a map where the key is a GUID, and the values are a tuple containing a pass and a fail. Then when we go back to having our message processed, the message will come back with the same ID we sent it in it with, and we can then fire the on success, and the parameter we pass in is the strongly typed version of the JSON payload in the type that we know it to be. And we just do this for all these different things. If for whatever reason this fails, we similarly, at the very end here, will execute the on error callback for that same request ID. And then we remove that from the list. And so this is how we're able to achieve, like, quote-unquote synchronous responses, even though it's a WebSocket, which is inherently asynchronous. You have a GUID that tracks the request from client to server and then back again. And we're able to listen for when we get a response to that, and we execute a callback. So you'll see a lot of... where is it? Example plugin, where is it? Oh, examples, there we go. Example plugin. So you'll see a lot of code that is written with this library structured with inline function definitions like such. Because I think that is the most intuitive way to use this. It's kind of JavaScript-like in that regard, but I think it makes a lot of sense when you have to deal with asynchronous stuff. So, let's see, where's a good example? If there is one here. Okay, so for example, I have a function here. I've learned more in 5 minutes than all of my schooling. I'm glad I can help. Okay, so for example, this is the activate expression function where you pass in an expression name. And so this calls the lower level get expression state list first. We need a list of all expressions we can activate. And then assuming that's successful, that's the first callback here, we can print out the payload we got back. Our expression data is... What is this? I didn't even read this function. But basically, this whole thing is the unsuccessful callback, and we have an error one. So assuming we're successfully able to get an expression list, we find the expression that matches the file that we ask it to. So in this case, it'd be like, blush.exp3, I think is the function, or extension rather, for VTube Studio and live 2D expressions. So assuming we can find that, cool. So we then have expression data. Then we call another asynchronous function where we say set our expression state for that expression to be activated, true in this case. And we have another nested function where we say if that's successful, just print out the response. And if that's a failure, similarly print out the response. A lot of these are just printouts because this is my super basic. It looks like this in Unity. It's literally just a pink screen that has buttons you can press. But if I run this, you can see it working. So for example, I can tint myself pink. Wow, it works. And there's the payload that we get back from VTube Studio. So we can refresh our list of expressions over here in the corner. Can I zoom that in? Yeah, a little bit more. So like angry. we have our state list, I can activate it. And you can see I've become angry. I can toggle my sad trails, which are the little tears in the corner of my eyes. There we go. So that's basically how it all works. Every time you get a successful response back from the VTube Studio API, it will fire a callback, and you can do whatever you need with the strongly typed payload data in that callback. And if you get an error, you know what to do accordingly with a strongly typed error message that you can examine for its error code and things like that. And that's how I get around everything being asynchronous by the nature of being a WebSocket. I know that modern C# supports, I think, the await and async definition types. I don't know how to do that in C# because I'm actually not very intelligent and I don't care to learn. So I thought this promise kind of style made a lot more sense. And it lets you define your code flow in my opinion, a very digestible manner, because you understand intuitively, like, okay, we're going to get our expressions. What happens when it's successful? Here's what happens when it's successful. Okay, part of that's going to get setting the state. What happens when that's successful? And you can just kind of go down the tree and follow the nested functions and understand, kind of like a flowchart, how everything's going to be in one place. Yeah, that was my takeaway. I think I messed with it once or twice in school, like way back a decade plus ago, and I didn't really understand it then, and I thought, well, I don't really need to, because there are ways around it. So I just have a central stack that churns through all of the responses and doles them out accordingly. Truth be told, the library here actually is not very dependent on Unity. There's a couple little quirks, like this needing to be run in an update loop, and some of the WebSocket stuff has a like run on main thread wrapper, because VTS-Sharp is a general purpose C# library, and it will try and run off of the main thread. So if you try and have a callback like one of these that uses a Unity library function, Unity engine library function, your app will crash with no stack trace, because it will be trying to execute Unity code on a unmanaged thread, which Unity cannot do. So I have a thing that basically then sends all of the callbacks that VTS-Sharp gets onto another update loop thread, so that those get executed against the main thread. Very silly. Yeah, this doesn't even use coroutines. This is literally just the update loop. Everything's quote-unquote synchronous, but handled like in a first-come, first-serve basis. Alright, 44 minutes in. Shall we try and update the library? What do we have to do? First one is there's a change to the get list of hotkeys function. One of them is that you can... Oh, I'm still crying. Hold on, I should change that. Actually, no, that's accurate. That's accurate. That's how I'm feeling today. One of the things you can do is live2d file name. It's optional. And that will let you get the hotkeys available for the live2d item, which is to say a nested puppet, basically, like the one on my shoulder here. You might notice that its eyes are moving with my eyes. It can blink even though I can't. That's actually another whole live2d rig pinned to my model as though it were a little prop. Kind of like an iframe is a way to think about it. It's like a whole live2d canvas, like containerized in what's called an item within VTube Studio. And that's a brand new feature that Denshi's very proud of. Expands the scope of what you can do with this tool a whole lot. You can have like puppets inside puppets. Like right now, this is like another little guy, like a pet, and it's mirroring my head tracking. But think if you wanted to, you could have glasses, and you might think, well, why would glasses need to be a live2d rig? That seems like overkill. Just use a static PNG. But if you have live2d glasses, you can have the shine on them be a tracked parameter, so that when you look to the left and to the right or down, they fog up and glare in a dynamic way, kind of like mine, because mine are part of my model. But if you had a prop that you wanted to give somebody else, if you wanted to try on somebody else's pair of glasses, you could give them just the glasses, and now they could load them up over their model, like an iframe, pin them to the face, like how this little guy is pinned to my shoulder, and it would all just work. Very exciting stuff. Okay, so this is an update to an existing function which is the hotkeys and current model request. And the only change, as far as I can tell, is you can specify, instead of the model ID, I keep switching back and forth, used to just be model ID, now you can also specify the live 2D item file name. And I don't think there's any change in how the hotkeys come back. So that's good for me. That means I don't have to change a whole lot. It just means I need to go to my data structure class here and figure out where in this 600 line file my hotkey definitions are. Hotkey data. Hotkeys in current model. Yes, please. So we've got going back to the API here. The input parameter is model ID. Now we're going to add public string. Live2D item name. Item file name. There we go. Now, oops. This is kind of a tricky thing to solve, because if we look at where this function is defined, which I can easily do like so. Right here, I think. This is the get hotkeys in current model. You pass in a string, which is the model ID, but I guess this would just be like a new... Instead of current model, it would be in live... Basically, what I'm getting at here is the signature would be exactly the same for this new capability that you have, where you can specify, instead of a model ID, it would be the live 2D item name, and that's a string in both cases. So the only way to differentiate these would be function name. If we look at the function here, current or other, okay. Get hotkeys and it's still a current model request, but I guess this would be in live 2D item would be the name that we change this to. In live 2D item, like that. This would be, as we just saw, live 2D item file name. And then instead of model ID, it would be this equal to that. Functionally identical in terms of what it does, except instead of setting the model ID, we're setting the live2D file name, which is a slightly different request for the payload. And now I will copy my summary, because this is almost exactly the same. Like such. Hotkeys for the specified live 2D item. And then instead of model ID, it's live 2D item file name. This would be okay. That's pretty easy. I don't have to make a new rule in my giant callback processor because it's the same type of response. You can just get back hotkeys, which are hotkey objects, like, where were they? Hotkey trigger data, hotkey data, right here. It's the same stuff. So that's good. Easy, easy, easy. What's next? What's next? What's next? Okay, so going back to Denchi's big list of things that have changed. Trigger hotkeys in the live 2D item. These also, I think this is the same kind of thing, where we just need to update the function to include an item instance ID. So let's see. So we have hotkey trigger data now here. Previously, this just had a hotkey ID, but now we'll have a public string item instance ID. And we're going to go back here, and we're going to do the exact same thing we just did. First two are not terribly exciting, unfortunately. Trigger hotkey for item, or for live 2D item. Yeah, okay, so a big big thing that I'm going to have to face here, and a big concern I have, is making sure that my changes to the API, updates or whatever, to accommodate these new use cases are not breaking. And what I mean by that is I can't change the method signatures, or really shouldn't if I can help it, for functions that already exist, because people will have written code that uses them, and they'll update the library, and then their code won't compile anymore, and that would be bad. People would hate me. They would boo for me. They'd, you know, throw shit at me. Why did that not go? Huh? I gotta look into that, because that's something I'm gonna need for tomorrow. I have a redeem that lets people throw shit at my head, and for some reason it just, like, didn't go, and I don't know why. I don't know why. It should. But they will boo for me. That part I can do for sure. If I break their library. They'll be very, very upset. But it becomes difficult when you have, like, what we're seeing here, where there's functions that are now used to just only do one thing, but now I need to specify. Well, there's the original version, and then there's doing it for the live 2D item. So now, in addition to the hotkey ID, we have string. What was it called? It's the item instance ID. Quest.data. Thrilling for sure. But we're in luck again because this does not require a new data type. It just requires modification of the existing stuff. So this is param name equals item instance ID instance ID. Me writing my Java docs by hand. Or not Java docs, this isn't Java. What do we call those? What is a Java doc that is not Java? Is it just docs? I don't know. I don't know what the term for the C# version is. It is a mystery. Okay, so how do I describe what the item instance ID means? Because to me that's explanatory. But it would be... I guess it's just the instance ID of the live 2D item, according to this right here. And then to get instance IDs for all currently loaded items, you can use the item list request, which we'll be getting to soon. Exciting. Triggers a given hotkey on a specified live 2D item. Wow. I think they're just docs. Wow. Incredible. My head gets so scrambled with terminology. For funsies, because I have spent the last, decade and a half of my life doing stuff in Unity, because it was the game engine that I first touched in my very first game jam back in college, and so I just stuck with it. I am like very, very, very in tune with C#. Every time I have a fun project, it's either C# or it's JavaScript, because I'll have to make Node stuff sometimes. And so those are like my two favorite languages. Yeah, I think encoding there's 5 words for any one thing. But so yeah, I'm a big C# enjoyer. I like JavaScript because it just keeps on trucking, and it's very portable, and Node can do some cool stuff, and the web is very interesting. But then, for my professional career, I have to write code in, on any given day, Java, Python, TypeScript, vanilla JavaScript, and now R, which is a very fun programming language. And sometimes, just sometimes, if the moon and planets line up, I get to write VB script in Excel. And I have to do any of those things on any given day, every day of the week, for, 8.5 hours a day. But then as soon as I clock out, I breathe for about 30 minutes, I do my stretches, and then I think, I can't wait to program some more because I'm a deeply broken human being who will never, ever achieve, exaltation in the afterlife because my soul is bound to this earth, writing code for all eternity until the sun devours the earth and all is consumed in fire. I will be programming and making dumb software. Big mood, yeah. So I will oftentimes do things every day. I am the second highest tier of engineer I can be in my professional career without being a architect or, quote unquote solutions engineer that manages like multiple teams. I am as within striking distance of being at like my promotion limit before I have to do a different kind of job basically. And I will do shit like have the incorrect syntax for a for each loop because my brain is thinking this is how you do it in C#. And I'll try and do it in Java and look like an idiot in front of everybody who ever watches code that I write if we ever do pair programming. And I will do this 3 times a week, even though I've been writing Java for 7 years. Stuff like that. Hope I don't die ever, so I can keep doing this forever. Exactly. Lua, you and I understand each other. I truly feel like we're cut from the same cloth. The more that I observe your mannerisms and the shit that you do, I really do feel like we are very similar people, albeit maybe manifesting in different ways. I definitely understand a lot of where you come from. I'm very glad to have found you as a streamer. It's good stuff. If people who are new here like my programming content but would prefer somebody who's way more up-tempo and does a lot more variety shit, please check out Lua V Lucky. She was last seen engaging in art because she was making a live 2D rig on stream today because she is extremely multi-talented. I don't know what you're doing next because I cannot keep track of your schedule, but I assume it will be very bombastic. She's very multi-talented, has a 3D model that she's currently doing at-home mocap for. Because I can't stop. Very big mood. Wow, we've written 2 functions so far. What's next? I think we're good here. Item instance ID. Cool. We got the docs that point to the actual docs. This is the greatest trick the devil ever played, was convincing you that the code is actually documented. What's happening? Erebin, hello. Speaking of VTube Studio, we have Erebin, who will get the shout out right now. What were they playing? Dark Souls! Oh shit. Were you doing it on a bike, Erebin? So Erebin is another programmatically minded VTuber type. They're actually one of the forum admins for the VTube Studio public forum in Discord, which is quite nice. That's a tall task, but they're also a tinkerer, I guess. And so I know last time I spoke to Erebin here, they were looking to integrate the heart rate plugin that I manage, which is a plugin that I dog-fooded with this library that I'm working on right here. I built a plugin that connects to VTube Studio that pipes heart rate monitor data in as a tracking parameter, so you can make your model get like very, very flushed if your heart rate goes up or whatever, or if your model has like an automated breathing, kind of like an idle pose, you can accelerate that based on your heart rate. You can trigger expressions so that you can like cry or blow smoke out of your ears when your heart rate hits like 150 or whatever. Stuff like that. And so Erebin connected that, I believe, to their exercise bike, and then they're playing Dark Souls with the bike, I think, if I recall, or maybe these are 2 different stream concepts. How's it going? Yes, I'm asking if you were playing Dark Souls on the bike. Yes, no. Okay. I will let you explain what you're up to, but I was just talking about how you're a tinkerer, and you've got a lot of weird mad science projects. It's not with the bike yet. Okay, I may have leaked your big plans. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Fortunately, the audience here is still relatively small. But welcome aboard. I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So, Lua, Erebin is the other person who has access to the API for my plugin, other than you and NoeOS. It's both of you because you had weird ideas. In Erebin's case, they're using the write access for the API, so they can write heart rate data from their exercise bike to the plugin as their method of tracking. And for you, you're doing the read part, so you can get the heart rate data out of the plugin and affect your 3D model instead of the live 2D one. So I'm very, very pleased that it works for both cases. It makes me feel very good as a developer. Yeah. Okay. What's next? We got 2 out of the 8 updates here. Denchi enumerated this list, fortunately. Added functionality to trigger hotkeys in live 2 items. I did that one. Added the... Okay, this is going to be an exciting one. Added the add mode for inject parameter data, new mode field, which allows plugins to add values to a given parameter. This makes it possible for multiple plugins to work together without interfering with one another. For example, external tracker plugins and bonk type plugins. In general, the parameter value injection code has been rewritten from scratch, so if your plugin uses this request, please make sure it still works. There should be no issues. Here's where stuff gets tricky. The first 2 were kind of softballs. Here is an example of a function that is tried and true that Denchi has rewritten supposedly in a non-breaking way. Which is cool, except now I have to deal with this. So the gist of it is there are 2 very, very, very popular plugins for VTube Studio. The first one is called TITS, or Twitch Integrated Throwing System, which is a plugin that you run. You calibrate the screen position of your model, and you can trigger a thing to throw a brick at the streamer's head, and it will forcibly adjust their tracking so their head reacts to being struck as though they were actually being hit. So it momentarily overrides your tracking to do like a physics simulation. And then the other one is VBridger, which completely overrides facial tracking out of the box with stuff from the AR kit. I think that's the iPhone one. I can never remember if it's AR kit or AR core. And so basically it completely has control of your entire face as long as the app is running, but it gives you like a bunch more nuanced tracking parameters. And the problem is, these are both very popular and many people will try and run them together, but because they're fighting for tracking of your face, your entire face, they don't work together at all, which is a big problem. The VBridger is constantly trying to adjust the position of your face, and the Twitch integrated throwing system is momentarily trying to adjust the position of your face, and so you get like a race condition, and neither is able to truly achieve victory. What Denchi has done here is they've added a new flag, which is mode, where you can either set, which is like absolute authority saying yes, this your tracking parameter has to be this, or you can do additive stuff so that they can work together. And this is the grand plan to get these 2 very popular plugins to work together. By the way, both of those plugins that I just mentioned, both TITS and VBridger, were written with VTS-Sharp, my library. Both are powered, made in Unity, with the middleware written by yours truly. I only found this out after the fact, but they are both powered by this little plugin, or library. I keep calling it a plugin. It itself is not a plugin. They're written using this library, so I'm very, very happy to have enabled them because they're very, very successful, and everybody seems to love them. Therefore, everybody loves me. I feel very good about myself, even though my name isn't on either of those products, and I'm the only person who knows, because it's not advertised anywhere, because I give away my library with the MIT license. But it makes me feel good. It's spiritually nourishing. Yeah, Fuba, I don't know why the Strike My Skull thing is not working. I could not tell you. It seems to be running. Maybe the source is just disabled or something. I really don't know. I'll check it out before Pizzatsunon tomorrow, though, so you can throw shit at me while I'm baking. That's the best I can do. Okay, so here's where things get dicey. Denchi has added a mode flag to this inject parameter data request, and it's a string. It's a string, but it can only ever be 2 accepted values: set or add. In most languages, that wouldn't be a problem because you could just make an enum that evaluates to a string, and you'd under the hood make this an enum, only give it 2 possible values, and when it converts to JSON, you get the string value out because that's how it should be. C# is not so cooperative. Your enums can only be based on primitives, which means you can either have a, like, byte, or int, or maybe float as your resolving type for an enum. And when you convert it to a JSON, you'll get a number out. So I have to set up some kind of mapper in between here and there, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. Because if memory serves, let's go to VS Code here. Where is this? Right here. We have an inject parameter. Oh shit, actually, I'm a fucking genius. Okay, good. So what my concern was, is I did a very bad thing when I was making this library, and I'm very worried about breaking it like this in the future, where for certain requests that have like a fuck ton of optional configurable parameters, I simply exposed the like actual payload type as an input, as like the argument. Instead of having you do like 12 arguments and then assembling it under the hood, I just kind of said build it yourself and then feed it in, because I figured anybody who's techie enough to make one of these things could just figure it out based on the very, very helpful explanation here as to, you know, what they're supposed to do. And it wouldn't be my problem. But that becomes a big problem if you need to do any kind of data cleanup before you actually send it out. I managed to dodge a bullet here because I only exposed, going back to the docs here, I actually only exposed this array and not the whole object itself. But basically, what I'm describing, and I've whined about this in so many streams, is I've exposed your boundary model, which is to say the language between the server and the client, to the domain, which is the internal workings of the engine. And you pretty much never want to do that as a professional software engineer. You always want to have your domain object decoupled from your boundary object, and have a layer in between that converts between one and the other, because you never want to have a case where if you update the domain, you're breaking the boundary, or vice versa, because that makes your code very, very fragile, and any change on either end can be a breaking change for an API, even when it doesn't make sense for it to be like that. At any rate, I don't have to worry about that because I can just do this. We're going to make an enum now. Public enum VTS parameter inject parameter mode. I cannot blame the devs. The thing, I'm so fucking desperate for having my ego fed as like a great creator and like brilliant programmer that I have to make sure there's zero friction in enabling somebody to use code that I've written or an app that I've built, right? I'm so hungry for validation that anything I do that makes somebody potentially not use software that I've made would be like a mortal wound to my very soul. It would cut to the quick very much. I need people to use code that I've written, or else the magic wears off and I fall apart and I start just being a pile of bones again. So I would never blame a developer. It's always my fault even when it's not. I will do anything in my power to help people use code or tools that I've built. You can pretty much just ask me to jump and I'll ask you how high. So, never, ever, ever. Okay, anyway, we're good here. We've got set equals 1, add equals 2. Actually, I can probably do 0 and 1, and then unknown, like that. And then on the actual request here, we have public string mode, and here, so now this is what we're going to call a breaking change to the API, which I'm not sure that I want to do. Actually, I can avoid having this be a breaking change, because there is a default behavior. Check this shit out. Actually, hold on. So we're going to do request.data.mode set. We're just going to hardcode the set because that is the legacy behavior, as it was currently doing before. But I can also do VTS mode like that. Like Tinkerbell, but instead of clapping, it's coding. Yeah, I can't I live for the. It's so weird. I don't know how to describe the specific flavor of brainworms that I have as being a VTuber. Like, my goal has never ever been from day one. My goal has never been to become, you know, like a Twitch partner, to have like thousands of viewers or like a huge following. I don't want to have like a community Discord. I'm not looking to necessarily build a community. I very much want to be a support type VTuber. I think I've said this a couple times before, but like in the corporate space, my aspiration is to be more like A-chan than it is to be like Tokino Sora, where I am a figure that people can rely on. I will make public appearances if and when I need to, and everything else I do is in service of helping other people achieve their optimal idealized selves. What's happening here? Who's joining the skeleton crew? Who dares? Murray Franz, thank you for joining the skeleton crew. There is a saying here in the underworld which reads, which says, if it does not read rest in peace on your tombstone, you get drafted into the skeleton war. So, with that said, I have to congratulate you on your voluntary conscription because you're saving a poor draftee from getting their soul reaped and condemned to eternal damnation in the skeleton army because you voluntarily signed up. Thank you very much. You're joining me just in time for some programming, which I do every Saturday night at this time slot, except I won't be doing it next Saturday night because I will be elsewhere. And then on Sundays, sometimes, I do cooking. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. EST, I will be doing Pizzatsudan, my legendary cooking and just chatting stream. I will teach you how to make dough from scratch, literally from flour and yeast. We can watch it rise. I will try and talk for 3 hours, and we will make something fun together. The most popular only stand tall because the unsung hero isn't back. Exactly. My goal is to be a very dependable friend, more than it is to be personally famous. I would like, in an ideal world, people to be like, oh, you need help with, you know, some dumb idea you have that you want to make on your stream come true. I know this guy Tom, he can help you, and I can help that person, rather than being famous. I don't know. It's a weird niche to want to occupy. It's it's a very selfish niche, though. Like, I do want to help people be able to actualize their ideal self. I think VTubing is so cool because you can portray yourself in any way that you want to. You can do these like incredibly elaborate what would be very high budget performance art pieces if they were material, but because it's all digital, you can have like an infinite number of props, that kind of stuff, in the palm of your hand, as long it all exists in your funny little computer. Like, you could do shit like Germa's Dollhouse stream. That's, like, very easy to do digitally. I want to see people do shit like that and succeed and become their ideal self. That is my goal with making tools for VTubers. It is very rewarding to see people be happy and to be able to achieve things that live in their brain. How do I have such luscious hair, Mr. Skeletom? I condition it every other day, and I eat very well. That is my secret to having nice hair. It's important to not wash it too frequently or the oil will come out and it will become very dry. But I condition it every other day. Otherwise it gets very frizzy, especially during the summer when we have so much humidity. It will frizz out quite aggressively. Anyway, back to the code at hand. I've managed to avoid making this a breaking change by introducing this enum mode. And I will now do... I'm going to be forward. My brain was like, it's time for a ternary. This is my toxic trait, is that I always want to use a ternary. Because what I was going to do was going to say mode equals equals I was gonna do this. This does not scale. This is bad. Yeah, I use Garnier Fructis as my conditioner of choice because I have too much money, I guess, and I spend it on hair care. But it's all I got left from the land of the living, so I gotta take care of it while I can. I don't know what it's rooted to, but that is just how it is. It's very fluffy. Bon likes it a lot. It's finally starting to gray, though, as you can see on my singular bang. I'm finally starting to get gray in the mane. But I'm not balding, so I count my lucky stars. ISV, hello. The one gray hair, yeah. It's a charm point. Okay, so my toxic programmer trait is always trying to use a ternary. Yeah, the glasses are more of a creature comfort. It's like a phantom pain kind of thing. I was so used to wearing them in life that it just did not feel right to not have anything on my face in the afterlife here. So I don't need them, I don't think. But it's, you know, it is what it is. Kind of like my funny new emote, by the way. I don't know if I advertised this. Probably not. I think this just got silently added. I have a new emote from this person. It is me doing the big boss salute, and I have an eye patch, which is very funny. I have an eye patch and glasses. Very, very good. All I'm saying is glasses are very versatile. I think everybody should wear glasses. Etc, etc, etc. You get the idea. Anyway, let's not do a ternary here. This is bad. What we're gonna do is, if I gotta make this extensible, so when Denshi adds a third mode for this, I can be prepared. If mode request.data mode not equals equals. Next mode would be quantum mode, so you send the value and half the time it works and half the time doesn't. I don't know what other mode he could do. Like, maybe he could do, like, some kind of weird subtractive stuff. I have no idea, but I have to be prepared for it, right? I don't want to box myself into a corner. Also, I'm now realizing what I can do now is... check this shit out. My one method will simply call the other method instead of me having the same code written twice. And then it's going to be values on success on error. Wow! We love to see it. So we have the most fully featured version of the function down here. And we call a version of that with a hard-coded set for the legacy behavior. And it just works. We love that. We love not duplicating code.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, speaking of wow, chat member Fubadas gave me a new emote that I'm going to now show on screen. I'm waiting for Twitch to approve it, but you guys can get excited about it. Hold on a second. Let me go find it. I don't know what's taking Twitch. I've never had to have them approve an emote before, but for some reason they're dragging their feet on this one. It looks like this. Get excited for this emote, which is coming to a stream near you very soon, made by our own Fuba. I'm excited about it. It's very cute. But it is not currently approved, so we have to keep waiting. I'm guessing it's because it has text and like the machine neural net in Twitch's grand wisdom machine is like, ah, that might be hate speech. Better have manual review for it or something. And it's just like not letting me. Because that's the only thing that differs, is that none of my other emotes have text. And this one did, and they're like, hold on, buddy. We can't let you have that. You might be saying some terrible shit. Tiberius, hello also, by the way. Thanks for stopping by. Where are we? Okay, so now we have the updated inject parameter thing. We still support legacy behavior, but if you want to get a little more involved, you can. I need to add a doc for it. Param name equals mode. How does Denshi describe this? Most of my docs here are just me copying Denshi, because he's the authority here. What is he describing mode as? Denshi, help me out here, bud. He's just saying, you can set the mode field to add. So instead, add the values you send to whatever current parameter values are. The weight values aren't used in that case, but what is a mode? I don't know how to describe it. It's like the method by which to set the... Because right now it's just a boolean. It's like, are these values set or added? Is it additive or absolute? But it's not going to always just be two of them, I wouldn't think. I don't know. By which the method by which the parameter values are applied. Sure, good enough for me. How are the updates going? I'm on function 3 out of 8, so actually we're doing quite well. My goal is to be done before 11 o'clock, because that is when beloved streamer Keisan on Air is doing her like official inauguration into VShojo Japan, a fun new branch of VShojo that she invented. I am eager to be there and cheer on my Oshi, as they say. Okay, back to the browser. What's next? So that was number 3. Item list request. Okay, so this one's something new. Denshi, I'm gonna fucking strangle you. Oh, that's in Minecraft. I will not strangle Denshi. I love Denshi. Okay, Denshi just posted a link to a function that doesn't appear to exist in the README. Or just sent me to the wrong place, like maybe as a joke. Because this takes me to NDI configuration. Oh wait, no, I can't read. I can't read? It's here. Requesting a list of available items. Denshi, I would never strangle you. I'm going to kiss you on the forehead. Very lovingly. It's my own ignorance here. Okay, so now is where we're making new stuff. We're not updating new functions anymore. Requesting a list of available items or items in scene. This request lets you request a list of items that are currently in the scene. It also lets you request a list of item files that are available to be loaded on the user's PC, including live 2D items, animation folders, ... If you want to know which order spots are available to load items into right now, set include available spots to true. Otherwise, available spots array and your response will be empty. If you want to know which items are loaded into the scene right now, set include items instances in scene to true. Otherwise, item instances in scene array, response will be empty. Oh, yes, she'll be on Twitch. Fuba, yes. She's going to be streaming on her Twitch. If I am still streaming by then, I will direct my raid in that direction, because that's what I will be watching afterwards. Yeah, at least this one is. I think She's going to stick on YouTube for the most part, though. It's unclear. It's a bold new frontier. Okay. If you want to know which items are available to be loaded, include available item files to true. Otherwise, it would be empty. Important, this reads the full list of items files from the user's PC. This may lag the app for a small moment, so do not use this request with an include available item files set to true often. Only use it if you really need to refresh the list of available item files. Set to false in any other case. God, okay, so this is tricky. There's like a lot of shit you can specify here, and I don't think I want... I'm not sure what I want to do here. This is an example of a function where I would say, like, specify the data type and just pass it in. But I'm worried about doing that because I think that will bottleneck me in the future. And yes, Fuba, you're correct. Immediately after Kei-san, at 12 o'clock Eastern, i.e. midnight, her genmate in VShojo Japan is also doing their, like, world debut. That is correct. Okay, so there's like a lot of functions, or a lot of parameters you can toggle around in here for getting this item list. So there's 5 of them. I don't want to have 5 input parameters for this function and then 2 callbacks, because that's 7 arguments for every time you make a function call. And I don't want to have, like, only being able to set one of these individually per version of the function call, because you might want all of these back. And then the response, I'm sure, is very full also. Like, look at all this shit. Oh boy. So, I'm not sure... I think what I gotta do is make a boundary model that just has these things, convert that to a... Or make a domain model that has these things, convert that to a boundary model when you send it, and that's the right way to do it. But I'm gonna... Franz, I don't know why the skull hitter doesn't seem to be working right now. I could not tell you why. Actually, maybe if I... How do I go into studio mode? Yeah. You can say that all you like. Hold on, let me check something. Why? Yeah, like, I don't know. I've got the thing running. Okay, hold on. Oh, I know why. I think. No, actually, wait. Yeah, okay, I know why. I know why. I remember. I am understanding. Hold on a second. Chodo a fucking minute. Un momento, por favor. Hold on. My OAuth token for the plugin has expired. Is the problem. That's why I'm able to trigger it manually, but not via the... Yes, exactly. Twitch key got revoked. Give me 1 minute. I just gotta remember how to get it back. I don't remember how to get a new one. Tokens, yeah. I don't remember where I can look at that. I think that's Italian. It's my Italian is very, very bad, poor even, because I don't have anybody to really speak to. Like, verbally that can understand Italian. No one else in my surviving family speaks Italian. And here in the States, it's not a common language, unsurprisingly. So I mostly have to type it to people that I know online, and I don't get to speak it very often. So my Italian is very poor. It's settings, deauth Twitch. Moderation. Streaming tools, extensions. I don't know where this shit is. I feel like there should just be a way to log out of this. But I don't see a way to do it. Oh shit, somebody sent me 1,000 bits? Shit, dog, that's $10 whole. Thank you so much. You're certainly under no obligation to pay me for my streaming. As I mentioned earlier, I have like a software engineering job, so I'm in pretty good spirits there. I appreciate the thought, though. Hold on, I'm gonna do something real quick. Let me reboot the application. It's gonna ask if I wanna... There we go. Get OAuth token. Copy that. Don't paste it in Twitch chat. Do not paste this into Twitch chat. And then I can go to my events. There we go. We've done it. Alright, cool. Gamer MLG champion of all time. That's me. Okay. Feel free to barrage me now. I've gotten it solved. That's what we were missing. This is the Twitch integrated throwing system plugin that I was talking about, where people can throw shit at your head. Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely appreciated. Don't let me tell you otherwise. But never ever feel obligated to subscribe or pay bits or whatever. There are plenty of streamers who need the money much more than I do, but I'm happy you feel that way. Thank you, Lua. I deserve it. But yeah, Twitch integrated throwing system. It is built using the library that I am currently updating. Very, very cool. Okay, so what I was trying to do before all of that is I wanted to write the schema for, I guess this is an item instance, is how I would describe this. I need something that has all of this data. So here's my process for how I do that. My very, very scientific, my pro engineering process. We go into our VTS data here. We're going to go all the way to the bottom because this is new. System.serializable. Always got to have that so you can turn it to a JSON. Oh, 1 second. I will be right back. I am no longer BRB. Sorry, Bon just got back from elsewhere. I had to greet her and check if she needed help carrying things inside the house. But she's all set. She's very capable. Okay, so my very scientific process here is doing this. Check this shit out. Should scroll down also. So we copy the schema from VTube Studio, comment it like such, and now I will just simply refer to this as I write my object definition, inferring types based on if there are quotes or not, basically. So we're going to have public class VTS item instance Public string file name. Public string instance ID. Wow. I knew I wanted that. Public int order. Public string type live 2D. Oh wait, no, sorry. That's just a string. Yeah, Urban, I wanted a, for the longest time, I've wanted a tracking loss expression where I just collapse into like a pile and then like get back up when tracking is resumed, but I do not have the chops or brain power to do any live 2D rigging. As I said at the very top of the stream, I'm good at one thing and one thing only, and you're looking at it right now. So I have not made any progress towards doing that. Yeah, exactly like a dry bones, yes. That is my ideal self. My singular charm point for this model is that my jaw is a jiggle bone. I can wave it around. And it bounces. Yeah, the thing is, the model that you're looking at right now is illustrated and rigged by perennial collab partner and also life partner Bonbons. So it has immense sentimental value to me, and I could never ever get another one made because this was like a birthday gift 2 years ago, or yeah, 2 years ago at this point. I'm very much attached to the skin I'm in. It has sentimental value. It just wouldn't be the same if somebody else did it, I feel like. Censored? What is the censor? What is this? Censored? You can do that? Oh, whatever. Public Boolean. Not Boolean, sorry. This is a case of me thinking in Java, just Bool in C#. Bon just walked over and held up some tomatoes to my face and said, check out these tomatoes. They're pretty good tomatoes. We're also growing some at home, which are just grape tomatoes, and I definitely prefer those to the beefsteak tomatoes. Very, very successful garden. If you follow me on Twitter, you've gotten to see... I'm actually going to shill it right now, hold on. I'm so fond of these photos that I'm going to make you look at them. Where are they? Check these awesome photos from my herb garden. These are not pictures of tomatoes. We have a resident living in our herb garden that I'm very, very fond of. I have to engage in ritualistic combat with him every time I want a sprig of basil or rosemary. It's very, very fun. I don't know why I'm posting the link in chat like I'm not just broadcasting my screen. Hold on. I can just show them on screen. What am I doing? What am I doing? There we go. Check this out. Do you see the existential threat and apex predator in this photo? Anyone? Anyone? Does anyone see the monster that I have to fight every time I go for a snipping of leaves? It's this guy. Does anybody see the killer in this photo? Anyone? It's this guy. How about here? Where's the monster? Does anybody see the thing that could snatch out and slice you in half and eat you immediately? Anyone? Anyone? That's right. This is not a leaf. This is a apex predator. And here's a good shot where you get the curvature of the arm. But yeah, this guy lives in my herb garden. I've watched him grow up from being a tiny, tiny little, like half-inch long larva. He's about 3 inches long right now. I expect he'll keep getting bigger. Mantises that I've seen typically get to be like 5 or 6 inches long, so he's about halfway to full size. I don't know. I don't think he can get bigger in this herb garden, but if he's going to keep growing, he'll probably move somewhere else. And yes, do these guys attack? Never swung them IRL. Yes, this guy will lunge at my hand if I try and take snippings of the leaves. And fortunately, it is a bug, and I can easily just put him somewhere else when he jumps on me. But they are very, very aggro. This guy is willing to fight me, even though it's a fight he cannot possibly hope to win. It's very charming. But, yeah. This guy right here. Very good camo index. It's like the exact same shade of green. They're very aggro. It's ridiculous. They will fight. Like, they are extremely willing to lay down their life for combat. It's very scary. Spirit, but not the ability. Yeah, it's startling, but now that I know to look for this guy, I am way less frightened every time, because I just know to look. But, like, in this photo, very, very easy to mistake for a rosemary leaf. Same width, same color, just long, narrow. If you don't know to look for it, you would never find them. Anyway. That's what's going on in our herb garden. I like it quite a lot. I hope he stays there for a while. Okay, so we have censored, flipped. Public, bool, locked. Public, float, smoothing. Public, float, flout, float, frame rate. He is the guardian of the herbs. Bond, welcome back. Thank you for renewing your sub. Wow, 6 whole months. You get to enjoy the great new Twitch emote. And as I was saying right before you got here, soon we'll have another great emote, which is this one. As soon as Twitch lets me do it. I don't know what we're waiting for. But that'll be the 4th emote in my ever-expanding list of emotes to pay money for. Used to just have the 1, and now I've got 4. I'm growing up so fast. I'm like a real streamer. Public. Int. Frame. Count. Public. Int. Current. Frame. Public. Bool. Pinned. To model. Wow. That's a generous offer, Fuba. Wow. And then we have public string pinned model ID. Public string pinned art mesh ID. Public string group name. Public string. There's so many parameters on an item. I do not envy Denshi having to have like figured out all of these things. Like what needs to go here. Scene name. Oops. Public. Pool from workshop. Alright, cool. One tiny piece of the puzzle done. You have an item instance. He has all of these things. That's why he gets paid? Question mark, the big... He gets paid $15 for a perpetual license for VTube Studio? Yeah, the big bucks. Okay. And then we have... time to make a message type. Yeah, and he runs a very, very popular public Discord to get this, to figure out what features need to go in here. I do not know how he doesn't, like, lose his mind. Okay. So... System. Serializable. VTS. Item list. How do I name these things elsewhere? I just call them list data, it looks like. Okay. Item list and data. Why not? Oh, that's a class, if anyone's wondering. That one's definitely a class. And then we do public class data. And all of these... Oh, and this needs to extend VTS message data, like that. Very, very important. We have this. They're all basically the same. We do this. The request type is item list request. Like that. Oh yeah, I have the buckle on my shoulder just because it's the easiest live 2D item I have to test API stuff with when I get to the part where I have to test these functions. As I was saying, you made it, so I was talking about it before. It's available on the Steam Workshop because VTube Studio has Steam Workshop integration. Wow. So the constructor says that this is the type of request it is. You got a new data. We're going to define what goes in the data structure here. And because these inherit from the base class, they get a random UUID assigned to them and all this other stuff. Just out of the box. Yeah, VTube Studio is a steal. It is $15 for a perpetual license that you can just use forever. Very, very cool. Okay, so here's another idiot, bad, stupid brain move that I did. For all of these request response things, I recycled the same data type for both the request and the response, because historically, they've been very similar. For this item list one, the response and the request look almost nothing alike, so I'm not sure if I should do this or not. I'm not sure. I probably should have made these separate classes, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I think I'm gonna just stick with my pattern. We've got public bool so like we've got all of these fields, but then for the response there's a bunch of different parameters that are not used in the request. Public string public string okay, so that's all the stuff that's in the request. But then, like I was saying, if I go to the response here, you can see it's just like completely different. So I'm not sure if I should suddenly just do the right thing with because the right thing would be this. It would be making this item list quest. Can't wait to start using this soon. Yeah. I hope I'll have this out soon. Ideally, this will be done tonight, right? Like, I can just push this out tonight and do a little bit of testing and get this done. I don't know if Denshi's planning on changing the API further. What's it matter about here? Huh? Oh, I spelled request wrong. There we go. If he changes the API again, I'll have to obviously make changes here. So I think what I need to do here is you have your request data, and then but this is kind of not following the pattern that I've set for every other request, and I worry that it's bad. Basically, what I would be doing, if this were stuff I was doing previously, would just be adding all of the request and response properties to the same object, which is bad because when you get a response back, it passes you, like the payload here, and many of the fields on it might not be valid because they were request-only parameters, not response parameters. So, I don't know. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have two separate objects. Okay, so we got public int available spots appears to just be a list of numbers. What else we got? Item instances in scene. It's a list of those items before. Oh, okay, cool. And then this is public list of int. This is a list of VTS item. Oh, do I really make everything an array and not a list? Do I really not use list at all in here? Interesting. Why would I do that? Whatever, sticking to the pattern. It's fine. And then looks like there's another thing, which is the available items and files, which are just these three things. But that's another data type I need to define, which is going to go up here. Public class. String type. So type, I wish I could make an enum too, but I don't see a way to do that without, like, doing a lot of post-processing on the response payload here. Because it looks like the types can just be, like, a file extension or live 2D. But I guess I'll leave that up to the user. Anyway, back to here, we have public VTS item file. What is it called? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not showing VTube Studio. Or, not showing VS Code. I make that mistake all the time, VTS. It's called this. I defined a new item type up here. File name, type, loaded count, etc., etc. Cool, cool, cool. So now we have a response data and a request data. We need to then go into our big plugin processor here and add some functions. I don't know why I didn't make every class have a different request and response type from the get-go. I think I really fucked up from a library perspective when I was doing that. I don't have a good explanation as to why. But to basically do that, when we get an item list response, turn it into one of these and do the callback. Cool. And then here, I can do public void. What is this function called? I already forgot what we're doing. This is getting a list of items, right? What do I call other functions that do the same thing? Do I ever use the word list? Get art mesh list. Get parameter list. Guess this is just get item list, right? Okay. Love having single class files that are 700 lines long. Let's go. We're going to have a VTS item request data action VTS item response data on success action VTS error data on error we get to do no, wait, no, I shouldn't do that. This is not how it should be. And this is what I was struggling with before, right? Is like, the request here has a bunch of different configuration parameters. I don't want to have you pass in five of these things. But I also don't want to just pass this in. I guess I can do like that. But then I'm once again exposing the boundary object to the user. Do I ever do that elsewhere in this API? Nope, just once. So that seems like an anti-pattern. I don't know what to do. In like most cases, I would just expose like one or two parameters. I guess I can just include them all, but if he adds more stuff, what am I to do? Yeah, like in a lot of cases, I just have like one or two, but now it's 5. And I'm sure future functions are going to have a lot of other... No, it seems like the correct patterns just include every single parameter as a part of the function call. So that's what we're going to do. Here's what we need to do. That's the pattern. Having a coherent pattern, in my opinion, is more important than any kind of other design sensibilities. Users need to know how they can expect to interact with your stuff. So be it. If that means I have 7 arguments in my method call, so be it. The world's most unseemly method signature. That's fine. And I gotta map these. Data dot include. Quest dot data. I don't even remember what the other ones are. Only items with file name, only items with instance ID. This dot socket dot send. Ah, motherfucker. Okay. This is why... Okay. Okay. So, here's how I've bamboozled myself, like, to the most extreme degree with my library design here. So I've got this send function, right? And this is what I was talking about before, with all of my data objects are both simultaneously the response and request. They have all the fields for both of them. Here's how I've bamboozled myself. The send function takes in a generic. Yeah, I deserved it. Takes in a generic type that extends that message data, which is the generic type for any request response that we saw in our data class. It has a T for the request, which is the type it is, and then the onSuccess callback is expected to be an action of type T, like so. Which means that the thing you're trying to send, request, and the callback onSuccess are expected to be of the same type. Here, when I try and split out the request and the response into two separate types, it breaks the send signature, which is bad. I could fix this, I guess, by adding a second generic type here, because this is like a internal method pretty much. It's public, but only insofar as these things call it. It shouldn't be public really. Yeah, and then so like the callback is able to successfully convert this VTS message data by upcasting it into whatever type you tell it the callback is going to be here. So I've bamboozled myself a little bit. I can add another generic type here, and so that way request and the callback can be different types, which might be the right thing to do. Or I can do what I've been doing for every other function here and put all of the request and response parameters on the same object and just pray that the user doesn't try and access or write ones that don't work for that part. Like, they're not trying to access request parameters in the response. Sweats loudly. I don't know. I'm pretty sure the correct answer is adding a second generic type here, so that request and the response can be different types. But then I have to change every single function here, which is fine. Just busy work. I don't know. But yeah, that's why we're getting an error right here, because onSuccess the callback is defined as being of a different type. Oh, wow. Sonny, hello. You are just in time to watch me struggle with programming. Welcome, welcome, welcome one and all. I'm Skeletom, your undead indie host here. Hello. I am working on, I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm adding a bunch of new features to the C# library I maintain that lets you build plugins for VTube Studio. This past week, Denshi, the guy who makes VTube Studio, rolled out a beta branch that enables a lot of features where you can interact with items via code, like spawning items programmatically, moving them around, etc., etc. And so I have a library that lets people write the code to do that in C#, which is the language that the Unity game engine primarily runs in. So I gotta do that. I gotta update the library so people can start building plugins that can use these item features. And that's what I've been doing for the past 2 hours. I am probably going to do 1 more hour. Mario Party 10, huh? Pretty cool. Did you win? Did anybody win? Does anybody win at Mario Party? I don't know. Wow, that's so cool. I'm glad somebody thinks so. If you've ever seen the Twitch integrated throwing system, where people huck shit at streamers like that, that was built using the library that I am currently updating. Because it was also built in Unity. It is a Unity application. Thank you, thank you. I deserve it. Currently I am grappling with something I need to do that will make the inner workings of this better going forward, but breaks the pattern that I've established for the past 11 versions. So it's not a breaking change, but it is weird and different, which might be fine. Might be fine, might be fine, I don't know. I'm gonna say now is as good a time as any to start making good decisions. We're gonna do like that, that, like that, like that. And now we go back here, and we see all the broken lines of code. Hello. Hi, Utah. Welcome, welcome. I see you're up in time for the big debut in about an hour, where I will be sending people over to go watch the inauguration of Keisan into VShojo Japan on her twitch.tv channel. Okay. So now I've got a bunch of broken code, because I just made a quote-unquote breaking change, but I can fix that pretty quickly. Thank you for the subscription. Enjoy your emote. I hope you like the big boss salute. 4 whole months. Thank you, thank you. Oh yeah, also for raiders who just got here, in addition to me doing this boring office job work right now, tomorrow I will be doing one of my legendary pizza baking streams at 6 o'clock Eastern. But it's not going to be any ordinary pizza baking adventure. I'm going to be making pizza in a steamed bun, like a traditional Chinese bao. But it's going to have pizza toppings in the inside. It's definitely sacrilegious, but it will be tasty. Yes, I do. I put the recipe on my Twitter. I will retweet it after the stream. The dough recipe is a bit different than usual because it's a different kind of thing altogether. The only thing that really makes it a quote-unquote pizza is that we're going to put like pepperoni and cheese on the inside, but it's otherwise going to be a steamed bun. Gonna try to drop by and finally catch some cooking live. Lua, I think you would appreciate it just because of the sheer number of devices that I have to have set up in my kitchen to get all of my streaming information to my streaming PC, which is in a different room altogether. I do not move my PC for my cooking streams. I still have it at my desk in my office, but I have many, many very long wires or Wi-Fi enabled devices all set up at the same time to help me get this underway. Pretty much every computer in my house gets used. And then I have sous chef Bond help me from behind the scenes. Oh, yeah. I think tomorrow the strange ingredients I've been put up to is Fubal's been waiting for bacon. I'm not gonna do caramel. I think I could do cucumber, but I might save that for like a normal pizza, so we only have the one weird thing going on, the cucumber. Bacon should be fine though. And then Hoshino Char asked me to put kimchi in one of them, so I'm gonna do that because she wants kimchi. She's actually the person who gave me and Bon the idea for doing this steamed bun pizza thing, because she had a similar product from a food truck at Anime Expo, and she asked me to make one at home. So we're gonna try it. If you're not familiar, SO. There we go. Yeah, kimchi sounds alright. Lasting, engaging, and just chatting. Very excited to see. So that'll be tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern. I think that's like 5 a.m. Japan time, unfortunately. Not really the best time to make dinner. But if you're up, I will happily see you then. Do you like spicy food? I used to love spicy food, but then one day I got too big for my britches, as they say, flew too close to the sun, and I put a little bit too much ghost pepper sauce on a chicken sandwich I was eating, and I almost suffocated at my office because of the level of capsaicin that I just ingested. I immediately went to the office restroom, sat down, and had difficulty breathing. And ever since then, I have not liked spicy food very much. It pretty much immediately upsets my stomach, because I gave myself an ulcer in the same process, in addition to having, difficulty breathing. So I don't like spicy food that much anymore. I love things like jalapeno peppers, but that's about my limit. It used to be way higher tolerance for capsaicin, but I ate too much of it one time. I permanently damaged my gastrointestinal system, and here I am now. It's fun. I got to try and be the big man on campus, and I got what I deserved, as they say. Back when I did retail, one of the Christmas Eves when we were stocking shelves until like midnight, because that's what you do on or I think it was the day before Christmas Eve is the really big one. I forget. But we were all there until like way after midnight, stocking all the shelves and everything, and rolling out new product lines and what have you. My boss, because he was actually a pretty good boss, brought in a bunch of hot wings and like Carolina Reaper sauce or something like that, and we were having a contest to see who could eat the most of it. And I believe I ended up winning that contest, so I got bragging rights. And I do not think it was a wise thing to do, because many people had a severe gag reaction to eating that level of Carolina Reaper. But not me. I was able to do it. And then later, in my office job, I thought I was invincible, and I paid the price. So there's your answer. Do I like spicy food? The answer is, I used to. I fucked up my stomach for a good long time. I mean, there's still permanent scarring in there, as far as I'm aware. But I can eat food again. I can eat, like, jalapenos without instantly gagging. So that's cool. It's nice to be able to have, like, mayo with gochujang in it and not want to die. But I'm nowhere where I used to be. Oh, wait, we caught up. Okay. Alright, item list response. There we go. Alright, we're caught up. Get item list, all set, like such. Many input parameters. Don't care. Didn't ask. So, what I just spent a bunch of time doing, is, as I was saying, is here in the WebSocket underlying low-level code, I had previously basically forced the request data type and the response data type to always be the same, when they shouldn't really be like that. That was a short-sighted aspect of my library design. I can't repair the damage of having done that for previous data types, unless I roll out like a breaking change and let everybody know ahead of time. But I guess going forward I can be better about that, so I'm going to try and be better about that. Alright, we've got our response data, has all these things. Awesome. What's next? What do you got for me, Denshi? We did item list request. Next is an item load request. What does this have? Oh, no. Okay. Here's another great example of, like, way too many parameters in a request. Trying to think how I would elegantly do this. Because I just established, oh, the pattern is over in VTube, or VS Code here, where I just pass in all of these parameters, 5 of them, and then set them here, because that's what I do everywhere else. But, I definitely can't do that here. There are, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 possible things you can include in this request. Huh. So what can I do about that? I think I have to make a struct that contains these. And then you fill in the struct and we read the struct, I think. I think that's the way to do it. Because the alternative is... I gotta listen to my own advice here. Hold on. We're gonna do... public void load item. And we're gonna have stuff in here. Serialize. System.serializable. Public. Hey Venus, welcome aboard. We're in the final hour of the stream tonight, but I will be back tomorrow at an earlier time slot. We've got public class VTS item load request data VTS message data. We are going to have a identical thing like this, constructor that's pretty much the same, like that. Public class data. All of these types follow the same pattern. Very repeatable. Good night, Fuba. I will only be going for a short while longer, but I hope you have a good night. Item load request. And then in the data, we have all of this shit. So many fields. We have public string, file name, public float, these are floats. Even though Denshi didn't include a decimal on that one, these are definitely floats. Public float. Public. I'm assuming rotation has to be an integer, but I'm going to make it a float for the sake of... I'll read the documents in a second, see if that's the case. Public float. This one's an int. With order taken. Public float. I didn't know you could censor items in VTube Studio. This is all news to me. Has anyone ever done that? For any reason? Anyone know about that? I've never heard this. I feel like if you need to censor your item, you're already in trouble. Okay, so we've got that. Cool, love it. I need to also make the data class like that. And I forgot to do that for the previous one as well. There we go. Serializable means that it can be turned into a JSON, which is very, very important. Oh shit, did she? I must have missed that. She usually streams very, very early for me, so I typically only catch the VODs unless it's something, like, extremely important. And I think yesterday she was playing Ark, right? Which is, important to her, less important to me. I'm glad she had a good time, but I didn't catch that. I think I saw that going around on Twitter too, but I thought that was something, like, somebody had made. Like, they censored it in the post-process. That's cool, though. Good for her. I'm glad she's having fun in her insanely revealing new swimsuit outfit that is certainly against, like, Twitch TOS. I'm glad she's having fun in the sun. Alright, and then we have our... Oh, oops. Wait. Oops. No, it has to be in the namespace. What's it complaining about? Just the same name? Response. I think this is just public string. Oh, wait, no, that's not the right thing. Instance ID is what I wanted. There we go. Cool. So now I have to see how willing I am to, I guess, as they say, eat my own... No, it's not eating my own dog food. It's practicing what I preach. Because I was just saying how I always want to try and separate my boundary model and my domain model. And so, for example, what I'd do here is I'd make another struct that currently basically looks exactly like this data class. And I'd have that be the single argument you pass in to the function we're about to write. And then we just convert one to the other. And you're all set. So that instead of doing, where is it here? Like VTS item, VTS load item. What did I call it? What the fuck did I just call that? Item load request, yeah. Instead of doing that, I would have like a struct that's like, I don't know. Something like public class. Like that. Load item parameters. And it would just basically be all the same shit. I guess there's not really a reason to decouple them in this case because I am trying to let people more or less have direct access to the API. So if one changes, then the other should also change. I don't know. Well, actually, this is actually, I don't need to do this anymore because of my new philosophy that I just adopted an hour ago, where I have a separate request and response object. Because my big aversion to just passing in the data payload as a thing the user is supposed to set up on their own was that the data payload for previous data types included all of the parameters for both the request and the response. So the user wouldn't know what fields they need to set or should set, and it would be a big mess. But now, because I've got the request and the response as two separate classes, I can just have the user manually populate the boundary object directly, and they won't be writing to any fields that aren't relevant. They'll only have access to the relevant stuff. So I'm gonna backpedal on the shit I was just talking about because of changes I've made elsewhere that eliminate the need for that. So we can just do VTS list, VTS item list request data dot data data we can just do that. And it's fine that we're exposing the boundary to the user here, because they're gonna want like very granular control, I would think, over these things. But on the other hand, by not laying out each and every individual field, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like they might just like not know that they have to populate anything. Because like you could pass a null for this, and technically that would be a valid value for the sake of getting your code to compile. I have to think about this. But for now, for the sake of progressing tonight, we're going to say that's fine. Oops. Not the definition, no thank you. Action on error. I guess the real answer would be making the data class into a struct instead, and then having the constructor for the struct require that you manually specify every single parameter. So you're kind of like offloading the method signature upstream. Maybe that's the right thing to do. I don't know. That's library design decisions right there. Is like, if I have a no args constructor for this and they just don't set any arguments, that's technically a valid way to write your code, and it will compile, and it won't tell you there's any problem until you try and run it, and it's like, well, I'm just not going to do anything, because why would I? That's tricky. But I think we can just do this for now. For now, in the interest of moving ahead. What else has Denshi provided? Item unload request. That's cool. All right, let's see the item unload request. It's I think the next line here. Removing the item from the scene. Unload request. All right. Final stretch. Removing items from the scene. Unload item. Well, I also have to add docs for all of these, just like I was doing earlier. Let's do that before I forget. Although I do want to change the method signatures. Basically, my philosophy for doing docs so far has just been kind of high-level summary of what this thing does. Not DNI. Not do not engage, it's NDI. That's a typo. Let's fix that. NDI configuration. For more info, and then I just provide a link to the actual VTube Studio docs, which gives you a very precise explanation of what everything does. So I can get away with having Denchi write my documentation for me, is basically the plan. But I still provide what each of the things are supposed to do. Okay. Unload item is going to have item unload request, item unload response, error. We have to define these types now. Item unload. What's happening? Powerful coding. Yeah. Hello, Akibaki. You are just in time. We're in the home stretch. Last 25 minutes of my stream before I go watch a debut, I guess. Thank you for the tier 1 subscription. There are 3 new emotes since the last time you were... Or I guess 2 new emotes since the last time you were here. We've got these. And then coming down the pipe is this one. So get excited about this. I have to wait for Twitch to approve this one, even though I didn't have to wait for approval for the previous 3. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because there's text. But get excited about that, I guess. Soon you'll have the power to tell people, wow. Alright. And to catch you up to what I'm doing, beloved maker of VTube Studio, Denchi, has added a bunch of functions to VTube Studio itself that let you manipulate items, like the little spider on my shoulder. Thank you. Via code. Everybody's very excited about this because it means you can do things like play volleyball with your VTuber's head, play tic-tac-toe on their forehead. You could do like reactive Discord PNGs, but they're pinned to your model so they move around with you. Things like that by programmatically controlling items. And it is my sacred duty as the maintainer of VTS-Sharp, the C# library that binds VTube Studio to plugin development, to add these functions so developers can live out their dreams and build weird shit. This is my goal. For example, some work you may have heard of that uses this library includes Twitch integrated throwing system, which you've been using to hit me in the head, like so. That runs on my library. VBridger, the super high-end tracking replacement that is used by members of VShojo, that runs on my library. Nobody told me these things, I had to figure it out myself, but then when I asked them, they were like, oh yeah, is that a problem? And I was like, no thank you, I am spiritually very nourished that people are using my code. And there's like a bunch of other stuff too, but those are some of the main ones. Actually, I say that, I have a list, because I'm a big narcissist. Here, on my README, I have a list of everybody who has told me that they used my library. There was a guy back in the day who had a plugin that let you control your model with your pen on your tablet. There's a guy who had a thing that connected your weather as a tracking parameter, so you can make your model, like, depressed when it rains, I guess. I don't know. This was cool. Twitch integrated throwing system. ViewLink is a thing that lets you control your model via VR tracking. So, like, if you have like a Vive headset, it would translate the head turning parameters from that as tracking data for a 2D puppet. Audio Mimi, which was recently put out, is a thing that lets you trigger audio cues when tracking parameters go over certain values. So like if I were to crane my neck back really quickly, you could play like a bone snapping noise, for example. Many, many fine things. And then, like I said, VBridger and Twitch integrated throwing system are like the 2 really big ticket ones that I know about. And probably many more, because nobody's obligated to tell me when they use my code, because I use the MIT license. It's typically when somebody else suggests it, or I find out myself by accident. What a cool collection of tools. Thank you, Tahoe. I think so as well. And there's even me in here, because I ate my own dog food and used my library to make a plugin. Very fun. I wish more people knew about this or could use this. My goal is to always make it more usable. I truly believe that connecting your actual real beating human heart to your live 2D puppet is the future of immersion, but we'll see. Yummy dog food. Yes, my dog food tastes good. It's good people food as well. So back to what I was doing, is updating all of my data definitions for allowing you to connect to the VTube Studio API. Yeah, I've got a buck on my shoulder. Bond made it, as you probably know. This is an example of such an item in the item update for VTube Studio, because the really big ticket thing, the API stuff is great for nerds like Lua and I, but for your average VTuber, the big ticket thing with the item update that Denshi rolled out is the ability to load live 2D rigs as items. For web developers, think of it like an iframe, where you have a web page in a container. Here you have a whole live 2D rig running in like a little containerized window that you can pin to your model. So that's why the bucko has like eye tracking. It's looking where I'm looking. It blinks even though I don't. There's a hotkey you can trigger that makes it spin, because it's a rigged live 2D puppet made by Bonbons. And the potential for that is like very, very limitless, I think. You can have models within models, props, like I was talking about before, glasses can now have actual face tracking. You can have like glare appropriately when you look in places, all sorts of fun stuff. So that's a really, really high skill ceiling, I guess, feature that he's added, and the programmatic stuff is just icing on the cake. Unload. Item unload response. Unload request. Request. In my here, did I add a line for the load request? I didn't. This is shit I always forget to do. I always forget to add the conditional to check that we actually process the item load response. Load. There we go. I can't believe more people haven't been making live 2D items, TBH, but maybe I'm not paying attention. I'd expect it to be an insane amount. Yeah, I was gonna say something pithy like, oh, well, that's just because the item updated in the beta branch, Lua, and only people like you or I are crazy enough to be in the beta. But then I remembered that's demonstrably not true, and the item update is out for everybody, and it's the item API update that's in beta. Because I got to watch Amiya use this bucko that Bond made the very next day, and she's probably not in the beta. So, yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. It's certainly easier to just take PNGs off the internet and pin them to your model. Like, I don't have the wherewithal to make a live 2D model, or item, but I can definitely at least draw something or sculpt an item from, like an image search or whatever. So it's definitely harder. But you'd think people would be doing it. I don't know. I haven't really been looking, though, because I don't need one. I have my dumb chef hat. Where is it? Where is my dumb chef hat? Hotkeys. Wait, it's this one, right? There we go. There's my dumb chef hat. It's very charming because it's boned to my hair, so it wobbles around. But I can't draw. Yes, that's fair. I think you can draw. I've seen sketches you did. I think it was like in what was it, Inktober or Drawtober or whatever. I don't remember. I thought you were doing like a sketch of your character every day, and I liked those. I thought they were cute. They're not quite, you know, live 2D model tier illustrations, but I wouldn't say you can't draw. Yeah, nobody thinks that. Everybody thinks they can't draw, but that's fair. I'm not gonna tell you you're the best artist in the world, because, I mean, obviously there's room to grow, but I wouldn't say you can't draw. That seems needlessly harsh on yourself. while I'm over here, I should add for the item unload. Alright. So now I've got to actually fill these data models in. What the hell goes in an unload request? Is it just the... No. Capture groups... Yeah, I know you drew your original Live 2D model. I thought it was charming, personally. I think it can always be very apparent when a person draws their own model. I think the personality shines through quite a lot. But the new one looks pretty epic, dare I say. You had like almost a 180-degree turn, which is very impressive. Probably like a, 120 degrees, 160-degree turn for Live 2D, which is a large degree of motion. And then you've got your exciting 3D model. So who even needs 2D at this point? You know? Very close to 180. I'm excited for it. I think it looks cool. It's certainly more anime than the one you had, or I guess still have, but aren't using. The new one's got the bigger eyeballs, and just generally looks more anime, which is fine. But it's different. She's dead now. That's fair. If people are wondering, by the way, what I'm talking about here, if you check out Lua's YouTube channel, she just did a, what is it, a 18-month milestone stream? You called it an anniversary, and I know that's not the right word for it, because I was there for your anniversary, and that was not a year ago. I definitely know that wasn't your actual anniversary in the meaning of the word anniversary. So I think it was like, yeah, 18 months. There we go. You called it an anniversary, but you can't fool me because I was there for the other one. I made you a fucking Pomodoro timer for your actual anniversary. So 18 months. And she did a whole big elaborate thing where she brought out the physical Muppet that she has of her character to give a eulogy for her Live 2D character, which she then buried, which revealed her 3D model, which is very, very cool and sporty, and then also revealed a new updated Live 2D. A lot of shit happening. And yeah, Louis, you're in good company with the anniversary, or whatever you want to call it, because my streaming anniversary is also my birthday, my birth and times anniversary on February 14th. It is my birthday. It is the day I started streaming. It's a holiday. All of the above. Alright, we got these. What else we got? Instance IDs, which are strings, and file names, which are strings. Public string. Instance IDs, file names. Yeah, it's an eventful day, right? It's nice to get it all out of the way in one go, because planning 3, or I guess 2, big, like, barn burner streams is very, very exhausting. So I'd rather just do 1 that's, like, decently big, instead of 2 that are similarly sized. But I guess I'm just not very ambitious. And that kind of... I want 2 events, that's why I lie. Yeah, see? That's because you're ambitious. You have, as I've said many times, time and again, you have gumption. You've got that get up and go moxie that everybody likes so much. That's what makes you, like, a very appealing variety streamer. And then, going back to what I was saying earlier, about me very much just wanting to be like a support type kind of person, I still feel very obligated to celebrate the big milestones and do like a big showy thing, which I don't know if is a healthy mentality or is like a good way to be, but I very much felt like I needed to do something for my birthday, even though I didn't have too many ideas. And here you're overflowing with ideas. VTS item. That. File name. And we have in here public. Like so. I am only a streamer because other people won't execute my dumb ideas. Well, I mean, other people don't have your dumb ideas, is the thing. Unless you're, like, sharing them in some way that I'm not aware of, which maybe you are. But most people don't have the, I guess, kind of divine inspiration to do shit like showing your CAT scan on stream while playing Brain Age, for example. That's not like an idea that everybody has. I don't know if I cannot force my friends to execute my dumb ideas. I feel like you've come close, but maybe I'm just seeing the very, very cream of the crop selection of your friends that you have managed to force into doing dumb shit on stream. I feel like you're getting there. Okay, so unload request has a whole bunch of this shit. Okay, okay. I can sometimes. Depends on how dumb it is, right? Depends on how dumb it is. I'm glad that I'm approaching the final minutes here because my brain is actually starting to like stutter out. So stuff that I need to work on. I have not finished the API here. I'm gonna probably get through one more function, and then I'll send you guys over to Case on stream because she'll probably be live at that point. So I need to add docs for these. I need to decide if I want to make a domain level structure instead of gluing the boundary model here, because I think it's poor form to do this, and it also does not reveal to the user what parameters they need to set. And that's dangerous because they could just pass a null or an empty object in here and they're not going to get anything out of what they're trying to do. It also kind of is an anti-pattern compared to how I typically set these functions up, so I don't quite like that, but I don't have the brain power to fix that up right now. This is functional, just a little janky. We've got a lot of our data types defined, which is good. We have our response rules added to the master processor here. So assuming that that's all fine, let's keep moving ahead. What's next? What does Denshi have prepared for me next? Item unload. Item animation control. You don't say. This looks like it's going to be another monster, right? With like a million parameters. Yeah, okay. So all of the stuff for the item API just has like a ton of parameters. And then the responses typically have way fewer. So I'm glad that I've made the right choice and decided to pivot to having a different response and request object, because it would just really be untenable to keep doing what I was doing. I don't like that the pattern is different, but at least there's like a clear point at which stuff behaves differently now, or is structured differently. It's not just random. It's like, okay, item API stuff is following a different pattern. And then maybe, if I'm feeling ambitious, I can release a 2.0 of this, which is actually a breaking change, and implement these things the way they should be. I don't know. If I did, I'd probably still support the 1.0 way of doing things. And then that's a whole undertaking I don't have time for. Okay, so this is What are we doing here? This is item animation control request. Love to see it. What do we have? What awaits us today in the item animation control request? We have a string, public string. Public int frame rate. Well, wow, good example. This isn't JSON, this requires semicolons. Public int frame. Wow. Public float, I'm assuming this is going to be a 0 to 1 brightness. Public float, opacity. Bool. Public int auto stop frames. I don't know what this means. I have to read the docs to see what auto stop frames means. I was reading it earlier and I just didn't grasp it. Public bool state. Cool, and then we have a... Oops, I put this in the wrong spot. Unload response. Go. And then we have the response, which has way fewer parameters. Response. Get rid of all that shit. Don't need it. What do we got? The response just has frame and animation playing. Pretty cool. Oh, and this is not int, this is a bool. There we go. Alright, we got 5 minutes left before top of the hour. And fortunately, there's actually only one more movement, or only one more thing here, but it's a doozy. It's the item move request, moving items in the scene. We got diagrams, gang. We got Bezier curves. You can specify the fade mode with a string here. So this is another case where I'm gonna have to make an enum that translates to a string on the way out, but that's okay. We can do this. We have the design pattern to do this now. And here I thought I was gonna finish this in like the first 2 hours, and then have nothing to do for quite a while. VTS, what is this gonna be? Item movement, probably. Item move request. I'm gonna just finish up these data structures, I think is my plan. And then we will be off to where we need to be. Public string, item instance ID. I've typed that so many times today. Public float, time in seconds. Public string, fade mode. rotation, set flip. Wait. There's set flip and there's also flip. Interesting. Alright. And then finally, last data structure of the night. Actually, wait, no, there's 2 more data structures. Public enum, VTS item animation curve. We're gonna have unknown. Oh, and this inherits from int. Unknown is equal to -1. What do we have? We had linear ease in, ease out, ease both, overshoot, and zip. Exciting. It's comma now. It's out. What was it? Ease in, ease out, ease both, overshoot. This will be important later, but not right now. And now we get to make the response type. Oops. Alright, and the response has what? Nothing! You will just receive an empty response. I fucking win. This is how I win. Awesome. But we're still gonna do it anyway. Check this shit out. I have to do it. It's important to follow a pattern. Response data. And we just have fucking nothing in our data class. It's that easy. Empty on purpose. Alright, and that does it for our data definitions, which is pretty cool, pretty epic. I then would have to define a whole bunch of functions, but I will save that for another day as we are right at the top of the hour, and I am going to go check to see. Doesn't look like we are live yet with the new redebut, so I guess I can go just a little bit longer. But I'm assuming any minute now I'm going to have to divert attention and go praise the Oshi, as they say. Before I forget, I'm going to commit what I have on my item API branch. Three files changed, 344 insertions, 29 deletions, according to Git. That's not bad. That's less than I would normally think I would write in a day. But I have managed to expand my data definitions class from 700 to 839 lines. Very exciting. And then my functions are probably going to be close to, 800 lines by the time I'm done here. So that'll be fun. Much to get excited about, for sure. Well, until the place I want to go boots up, I guess I will continue my work here. Get some more functions written. I don't even remember, where did we leave off? Last one was unload item request, so what's after that? Oh, is it just the animation? And moving? Okay. We can do that. Float void animate item. Because I think right now most of my stuff is just going to look like this. Item. What is it? We've got animation control request data. Dot data. That's a class name right there. VTS item animation control response data. That's a lot. A lot to think about. And then we got our guy. And then for the movement one, that's where things get tricky again. That's where things get tricky. And this is where I would need to make a struct, I think. Yeah. And that takes me back to modifying all of these as well. But for the sake of doing it, I'll demonstrate, I guess. So here, I'm gonna do what I said I should have done earlier. Serializable, public, struct, VTS, item, that. We're going to have a constructor. And there will not be a no-args constructor available. It's going to look like this. Or actually, no. My style has been putting the constructor first, so we'll do that. It's going to have all the same properties like such. And then we can just do a constructor that has 13 arguments, because why not? Because we need to, because it's a struct. And you can't not define a struct. Unless some of these are optional, in which case I'm really fucked. I should... hold on, I gotta actually read the docs. Okay. So we've got our item movement. You can move items around the scene. If you want to set that position instantly, for example, when you want a new position every frame, set time to 0. Otherwise, you can use this field to set the time used for the movement fade between 0 and 30 seconds. Interesting. I didn't know it was clamped. If you want to set the flip state of the item, set flip to true. The flip state can then be set using the flip field. That's a weird way to do it, but I guess that makes sense. For the fields that target the movement, please refer to the documentation of the item load request. Only difference is that item move request will not return an error if the given values are too high and low. Instead, you can set the values of -1000 or lower. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so I think I just have to, like, have the user set each of these things directly and just point them at the documentation that says what each of these fields does. And there's no two ways about it. So let me write my little constructor, and then I'll send you guys off to the big event. I think that's how this is going to work. Yes, thank you. She's doing her load screen, so I've got time. I want to finish this train of thought before I completely forget what I'm doing. It's nice to see her old load screen also, considering she's doing new things. Yeah, I just turned on the audio. I'm hearing the X-Files theme. That's exciting. Why is she doing this? Is this just like shit you can't do on YouTube, or like, who knows? Who knows? The way her mind works is an enigma. Set, flip, flip. Weird. Oh god, are those sound redeems? Oh no. Oh no, okay. So it's not her doing, it's oh, Neo. Interesting. Somebody's got to teach her how to use those things properly. Can't just have every noise under the sun. So what I wanted to show was fade mode. Oh, what is that? Wheat bread? Thank you. You're just in time for me to probably do a raid. Wheaty bird, thank you. Yeah, I'm finishing up my code right now, because I'm about to go watch a very big VTuber event. Fade mode is going to be a VTS. Thank you. You can watch me wear this hat in greater detail tomorrow. I'll be doing a cooking stream, like an IRL cooking stream, with this hat. So, that's exciting. Alright, let's call it here, actually, because I think it's time for the big event. So, code's all set. I will commit. Yeah, so, oh, how it doing? How have you been? Yeah. I'm doing well. I'm gonna stream more tomorrow. You caught me right at the end here. I'm gonna send you all to the big event, the big Kason on Air VShojo introduction, because it's the big place to be, the hot place to be. Yeah, wishing everybody a very Kason VShojo debut day, as Lewis says. So yeah, I am Skeletom. I typically do programming on Saturdays like so. I'm at the end of my 3-hour block tonight. Tomorrow we'll be back at 6 p.m. EST for cooking. So I'll teach you how to make pizza from scratch. And that's going to be an exciting time. I'm going to actually be doing a pizza in like a steamed bun kind of situation. Please anticipate it. And yeah, I'll finish up the data definitions I got on my own time. And probably rethink a lot of the things that I've done here. But all set, well and done. Raid Kason on Air. That's not what her Twitch is. It's Kason Socho. There we go. There we go. That's the channel. The channel has follower-only chat on, which is fine because there are 16,000 people in there. Thank you very much, everybody, for stopping by tonight. Everybody who gave me the new follow and listed in the skeleton crew, it's very much appreciated. I will catch you all tomorrow, and until then, bonus era, good evening, good night. I love you all very much. Good night.